Riichiro Inagaki and Boichi's Dr. Stone has... The script fell off. Riichiro Inagaki and Boichi's Dr. Storm has taken the... Fuck! Riichiro Inagaki and Boichi's Dr. Stone has taken the anime audiences by stone. Alright. Its fast-paced story, its passion for scientific invention, and its usual scientific accuracy have been the reason for its success from the get-go. Meanwhile, its brilliant comedy is perfectly complemented by Boichi's gorgeous artwork we know well from Stanken Rock. On our podcast, Samastream, we have covered the Dr. Stone manga almost from the very beginning, and it quickly evolved to be one of our favourite series to read each week. We especially grew to love its cast and character dynamics. And that's what I'm here to argue for, that Dr. Stone's wide cast is the cause of its success, especially how it was introduced and developed. During the course of this video, we are gonna have to go through various bits of the manga, so there will be spoilers for anime watchers only. But before we look at any of that, let's talk about something only tangentially related to Dr. Stone, yet also something that illustrates my point perfectly. Let's talk about Inagaki's previous series, Eyeshield 21. Drawn by Yusuke Murata of One Punch Man fame, Eyeshield was likewise an excellent comedy, but most importantly of all a sports series telling the story of a high school American football team. The team begins, of course, with John Cena, a more sociopathic Senku, and Best Boy Kurita, but other full-time members are added as time goes on. Even though a football team must consist of 11 players, the majority of the slots at first are filled with temporary players. Therefore, the writing signals that only the core 3 members are to be focused on at first, while games can still be played. This is exactly why new series like Beast Children can feel a bit overwhelming at first, even if the writing focuses on 1 or 2 people. There is this pressure to introduce all of these people at the same time. Inagaki's method is kind of genius in a sense. It's only later on in Eyeshield 21 that some new members join in admiration for the matches they've seen the Devil Bats play. Some temporary members stick around to play quasi-full-time, while others are recruited almost completely by accident. All of these introductions are so seamless and organic that, while doing research for this episode, I read through 50 chapters of Eyeshield without even realizing it. I can't. Inagaki's writing is so good. Except when he tackles race relations. That's kind of iffy. Never mind about that. There are, of course, parallels to this style of introduction in Dr. Stone. At the beginning of the series, before the cataclysm of everyone being turned to stone, we are only introduced to Taiju, our decoy protagonist and viewpoint character for the opening arc. Yuzuriha, his love interest and a genius art and crafts expert, as well as Senku, the science prodigy and our actual protagonist. Taiju wakes up, he meets Senku and they promptly revive Yuzuriha, as well as Tsukasa, the most powerful teenager in the world, and also an anti-intellectual revolutionary leader, who becomes the anti-villain of the series. After they confront one another due to conflicting ideals and part ways, Senku alone marches to the Ishigami village where 40 new characters are added into the mix. The man of science starts winning them over one by one, until Kohaku's entire tribe becomes Senku's alliance. Let's talk about probably my favourite group of characters in Eyeshield 21, the Har-Har Brothers. They begin their tenure in the series as the typical bully characters, the likes of which you see in lots of media. Well, Trigger, for instance, has not 1 but 2 sets of those. The Har-Har Brothers only exist to bully John Cena at first, but then after being forced to join the American football club, they grow more and more prideful about their ability as linemen, and eventually want to grow along with the rest of the team. In Dr. Stone, Kinro and Ginro play with tropes in a very similar way. They are the 2 brothers who guard the bridge that leads to the village. You know the drill. The guards, the Sergeant Colon and Corporal Knobs. Except Ginro is both and Kinro is more like Angua of Vines. Is that how you pronounce it? I only read the books. They both undergo some progression over the course of the alliance with Senku. Ginro accepts his fear as the necessary part of his survival instinct, but manages to put it aside as, for once, he manages to fulfill a duty he cares about. Meanwhile, Kinro manages to, again, put aside his pride and accept help from Senku, as he couldn't admit his nearsightedness hindered him in battle. Nevertheless, the common goal to defeat Magma and cure Ruri of pneumonia allowed him to overcome that. Magma himself is perhaps an even more obvious parallel to the Har-Har Brothers. When defeated and utterly humiliated by Senku and his allies, this bully has no option to go along with working for him, while secretly plotting to take over as village chief. At first, he only appeared to be an obstacle for Chrome to overcome, just like the Har-Har Brothers were for John Cena. But as with them, Inagaki had prepared a masterful redemption arc for him. At first, he's only convinced by Gen that working for Senku would be in his best interest. But then in the tungsten excavation mission, he realizes his entire set of values crumbles after Senku's takeover of the village. He hates the world where the weak control the strong and just abhors the fact that despite being weak, Senku and Chrome have managed to become useful. After which Senku explains to him the concept of the division of labor, and that the strong can't exist without the intellectuals and vice versa. Then, after remembering the cotton candy and the sweet katana that he got, he decides to help Senku as long as he shows him how science can be interesting. And then, to top it all off, Senku reveals how crucial Magma was in this mission, as without his raw power they wouldn't be able to collect the resource that's necessary for the plans. See what I mean? Dr. Stone is so good at making sure the reader understands how important all of its characters are, and Magma encapsulates that in his entire character arc. And look at how enthusiastic he's been since every time the group needed his talent. He's so excited to be useful. Ever since he's been knocked down a peg, despite his strength, he's been so afraid that his value as an individual has diminished, and only after helping Senku and lending his talent to the group, he's become happy with who he is and with his social standing. And best of all, he's become actually interested in science, in educating himself, which is the whole message of the series. In one chapter you can see him in school with the village kids learning how to read, and it's so adorable and great. At this point, we've talked a lot about how similar iShield 21 and Dr. Stone are, but we haven't really mentioned how they differ. The latter has a noticeably faster pace, while iShield is all about the slow burn when it comes to progression. It takes dozens of chapters before the Devil Bats enter the Autumn Tournament, and it takes hundreds of chapters before Yukimitsu is actually allowed to play in a match. Meanwhile, in Dr. Stone, the goalposts move very quickly from one to the next, and as we see the final target in sight, we discover there is still more to come. I'm sure that we all expected the tournament or the Stone Wars to last longer, but I would still argue the switch of the series' focus to finding the source of the petrification was done in a seamless way. What's most interesting in our perspective about this faster pace is how many character moments Inagaki can easily fit into one sequence. In one of the recent chapters, the entire crew of Senku's ship the entire crew of Senku's ship gets turned to stone. It is done by a projectile which Ukyo quickly spots and shoots down, after which Ryusu kicks Suika off the ship for her to relay the message about the attack to Senku. Thanks to Ukyo's arrow grazing the projectile, Ginro is just barely allowed to escape. 4 characters get the big heroes moment in one sequence, all mixed with Inagaki's trademark comedy. But with how fast-paced Dr. Stone is, there are plenty more examples of those moments to go around. So, I invited my mate from the Samastream podcast, Greil9, to give his perspective on the matter. Take it away, Greil.
Just as Inagaki does in his series, creating a large cast can be done by just having characters in the background before rising to prominence, but even this is hard to pull off. For one example, Promised Neverland had a lot of children from the Gracefield house, yet when any of them were raised to prominence, they felt like none of them mattered. They were just pulled from the mass with no reason to care about, even if they apparently were there all the time. I feel the difference is that while Dr. Stone not only keeps the cast in the background, it also lets them have some minor interaction with the main cast before they become important. So it doesn't immediately try making someone unimportant background character in someone we're meant to be invested in. So at least we can say, oh yeah, I remember him, actually by name. Not only that, but the designs of first Yusuke Murata, then later Boichi, are unique enough to instantly stand out. We saw with his Ukyo when he was just an archer henchman of Tsukasa, Kinro and Ginro just being the village guards, or if we want an example from iShield 21, either the Har-Har Brothers and Komusubi, as even the latter was a rather one-note addition to the team at first. Another crucial element in Inagaki's ability to handle such a large cast is to establish a character in a different context, then use the same character for a different purpose later in the story. Yet he doesn't do this by breaking the character. Rather, he feels both the need for plot or character reasons, as well as showing that the character has advanced since we last saw them. I think in both cases the minor villain achieved this role first with Rui Hashibara in iShield 21, and later Magma in Dr. Stone. Though for now, I think this was done better in iShield 21. Dr. Stone is still great, but it's an ongoing, while iShield has already been able to do the full arc for Rui Hashibara. At first, he was nothing but a minor villain, someone meant to showcase the main character's strength. And later, his team was used as a jobber. We showed just how much more thoroughly they were beaten by an upcoming opponent of the Demon Devil Bats. Later on, in Kanto Tournament, he was shown in a more sympathetic light, showing just how there are similarities between him and Hiruma, the captain of the Demon Devil Bats. This also showcased Hiruma's character further. And finally, we saw his hero... Okay, yeah, I can't go with that. We saw his, tenacious last stand in the World Tournament arc. I mean, the arc was less than stellar, but I liked his appearance there and how it's tied to another character's story, even so. Add on the fact that he made more brief appearances between these more major plot points, so the character's use wasn't just an ass-pull of, oh, we pulled someone from chapter before 50, yeah, who cares. And if you doubt just how important this is, I have a less than positive example from Inagaki's own work, Akira Nakano in iShield 21. As a new character, he completely failed to endear himself very late in the series, coming practically out of nowhere, and seemed to just be a plot device to power up Gal with the Delta Dynamite technique. I'm almost 100% positive the role would have been better filled with any previously established lineman, just trying to improve themselves by learning that technique, showcasing their growth, as well as filling the role needed for the plot. So I guess, in brief, he knows both how to put them in the frame before they're made important, as well as keeping them in the frame in case they can later fill a different role, rather than creating a whole new character you need to invest us in.
Thank you very much, Greil. That's very well put. Overall, I very much enjoy how Inagaki handles his cast, and I hope the trend continues in the anime. The fast pace of the manga should allow for a bit of stretching things out, so there should be even more opportunities for the side characters to shine. What doesn't give small content creators opportunities to shine is the YouTube algorithm, a dark abyss of sorrows and woes from which videos like these never resurface. To help me navigate it, you can subscribe if you haven't already, like the video or share it on social media. Follow my guest Greil9 on Twitter at NuclearAndroid, where you can keep up with his thoughts on manga. He is also running the Team ODAR channel, where you can find our World Trigger Abridged series. If you'd like to help me keep Manga Mosaic going, you can also consider supporting me on Patreon, in return for rewards such as putting your name in the credits, getting a World Trigger avatar, or participating in Q&A sessions at the end of the video. Look at these rewards are so good. You desire these rewards, don't you? And desire is noble. I'm gonna have to talk about Ryusui some other time. So, what do you think about Dr. Stone and how it handles its cast? And what do you want me to talk about next? Your choices are Spy X Family, the flagship Manga Plus series about a spy, an assassin and an esper trying to form a family in order to complete the spy's mission, or Samurai 8, the new series by Masashi Kishimoto, the author of Naruto. Let me know in the comments and take care.